Duolingo. You've seen the memes, you felt the notifications haunt your phone. But why is this quirky little language app's community in revolt right now on the internet? Well, in this video I give 3 reasons why Duolingo's community is turning against the app. Number 1, atrocious user interface. So I recently got the Duolingo app to learn Spanish, and my first thoughts whenever I started using it were, wow, this is excellent. It really does help you learn Spanish in a gamified fashion that does just make it much easier to learn another language. My second thought was, oh my God, please stop assaulting me with ads. Let me just show you what it actually looks like on the user interface to use Duolingo if you don't know. So this is me completing a lesson, and before I am even able to see the results of that lesson, I am immediately hit with 2 unskippable ads for Super Duolingo, which is the subscription service. And once I get back to the home screen, 2 of the tabs on the actual app are just nothing but ads for the 2 subscription services. Now, I am not absurd. I understand that Duolingo has to make money. If it is a free app, it has to have ads. However, it is not in the same way that you may think that it is. While yes, there are other services and products that are advertised on the app, the majority of the time, it is just pitches from Duolingo pressuring you into getting either max or super. And this never stops. You are getting an ad about every 3-ish minutes, depending on how fast you're going through the lessons. And these are business practices that you would expect from like some fly-by-night slime game that you saw on TikTok. Not a international company valued at $16 billion. Now let's say that you did actually want to just get one of the subscription packages. Okay, well, how much do they cost? Well, I did have to search for this because for some reason, Duolingo really does not want you to know. They do not have this publicly posted on any of their official websites from what I could tell. But through some digging, I was able to see that it generally costs for 1 year of Duolingo Super $84 a year or $13 a month, depending on how you're paying. So, and it should be noted that this is for one person. This is not the family plan. Oh no, the family plan is hundreds of dollars a year. When you compare that to, you know, Netflix, which isn't exactly having the best PR for their prices right now, it starts to seem a little bit, how you may say, grande. Now you may be wondering, what is the difference between the Super and Max tiers of subscription? A great question. Well, it seems that Super gets rid of all your hearts, so essentially you can just play indefinitely and no ads. And Max has that plus AI video call features enabled. So I can't speak from personal experience on this, but from what I have been reading in the subreddit and in these online communities, the Super tier gets rid of ads, but you are still receiving promotions and ad invites to get Max. Now, I don't know if they're not as invasive as they are in the unpaid version or what, but if it's just the case that, you know, we're getting rid of like the other company's ads, that means that every time that you open the app, you are getting assaulted with just, why are you poor? Pay for Max, you peasant. So that way you can have an AI call with a character who has the very voice of death. It also doesn't take very long of scrolling in the subreddit to find that most people who have used the Max function AI calls claim that those also just don't work. They are also not available in most of the languages that are offered on the app. Like as an example, if you wanted to do it in Polish, almost certainly that feature is just not available for most languages. And in no way, shape, or form does the app tell you this. Now, I'm also going to say, I don't know if these AI calls not working are user error or software problems, but that's because no one knows, which brings up my second point. Number 2, atrocious support. Now, I want you to guess, and I literally want you to guess, how many support staff do you think that Duolingo, the company, has for consumers? 2. That is it. That is literally the entire support team for Duolingo is 2 people. Do you know how insane of a number that is? That there are 2 human beings for the entirety of the planet to actually talk to people and maybe solve their problems? How many languages do these people speak? How, you know, technical are their capabilities? I have no idea because no one can get to them because there's 2 of them for the entire world. And honestly, if you were to just tell me this, I would not have believed it. The only reason why I do know it is from a whistleblower who posted in the Duolingo subreddit. Now, this letter was addressed to the CEO of Duolingo, and I'm obviously not going to read the entire thing, but just to highlight it, it basically goes over the fact that, you all have over 8 million paying users and are worth, once again, $16 billion. There's just these fundamental problems that just systemically keep popping up, and you've not done anything to fix it. Notably that you do not have any consumer help available on the app, so over here on the subreddit, we've seen a 1,400% rise in support posts, and also specifically highlighting some perennial issues about how all languages are equal on Duolingo, but some languages are more equal than others. I also learned that apparently there's some of these languages that are just completely like volunteer built, like they were not like actually constructed by the actual Duolingo people. And also just like a consistent issue that you see all over the internet of like people losing streaks. And if you lose your streak, like you get hit by a car and it's like, hey, I was just literally not physically able to do Duolingo yesterday. I lost my streak. Is there any way to get that back? Apparently there's just not. Like, you've just lost that. And some people really care about those things. And also the writer gives 3 clear ways that these problems could just be solved. Also in the letter, it just names both of the support people by name, because whenever your support team is 2 people, you can just do that. And to this very clearly dictated problem, we get this response, which brings up my 3rd point. Number 3, uncaring management. And the official response from the CEO of Duolingo is basically, wow, that's a lot of words. Too bad I'm not gonna read them. We're going to employ more AI. I'm not joking, literally. He's like, yeah, I see that those are problems. We're just gonna automate it more. You can see that this was not received that well by the Duolingo community. And it really is this lack of care that has prompted this uproar in the subreddit, which has posted that they will no longer be taking any like customer support posts because we are not unpaid volunteers for Duolingo. It is shown that Duolingo as a company is apparently just not concerned with the actual well-being of its users in this aspect. And I gotta say, this is one of the few times I've ever seen on Reddit where like a moderator has made a post where it's like, we're just not going to be taking these kind of posts anymore. And it has like unanimous support from the community, because everyone knows just how bad it's been to actually use the app, and just seemingly how uncaring the actual corporate hierarchy is of these very real problems. And it really just seems that it's the same problem that seemingly every app has to have now, where it's just platform decay, where we offer you what should be a very good service, and then once we've got you hooked, we just make it progressively worse and worse so we can just, squeeze more money out of your body. And also just reminds me of another poorly aged TED Talk that the CEO of Duolingo gave, where he talked about that the mission statement of Duolingo was to provide a way to communicate across the world, and specifically in very impoverished communities where the ability to learn English was a way to move into a better life. And how he allegedly designed the app so that more people in wealthier countries were able to pay for the service, which kind of subsidized the learning of these lower income people. And all I can think about is, in this new context, if it's this bad for people who have the ability to pay for it, how bad is it for people who, need to learn English, for their livelihoods, but have no way to pay for it? They're just constantly being assaulted with these ads. And this isn't even talking about those disgusting app redesigns that they pushed out recently, or the problems that some people have with Duolingo's philosophy on learning, where you may not actually be learning, real ways to speak. Those are for a different day. My problem with Duolingo is that Duolingo needs to be better. It's offering a service that should be the most wholesome, helpful thing that has ever been designed. You are literally allowing people to communicate with humans that otherwise they would not be able to. And you've taken it and turned it into such a evil thing just because making billions of dollars a year just isn't enough. What if line goes up more? I'm not wishing for the downfall of Duolingo. I am wishing that Duolingo would live up to its own standards. But in the meantime, you can watch this video.